Okay, so now we can talk about what's the difference between somebody that's actually properly meditating, right? They're gathering energy, they have emptiness, compared to someone that's just taking a break. They just kind of sitting, they watching their thoughts. It does help with emotional triggers, right? In terms of relationship, you build more self-awareness, but that's very layman meditation. So we have to talk about what actually is like the meditation for enlightenment, right? For to be able to gather this energy in a very profound way. Now, one thing the Taoists talked about, which is pretty known, is the three treasures called Jing, Qi, and Shen. They're essentially the same energy. They're just different states of the same energy. So understand, when people talk about the sexual energy, the Chinese would refer to this as the Jing. So you could say this is like the fluids, the substance, the very oil that you have to retain, right, to even begin the cultivation process. It's like when you have a lantern, and that lantern, that oil to start the fire, right? Without that oil, there's no light. So without the oil of the Jing, there is really no fire, and then there's no light, right? So you see the person to the left, the Jing, the feel around the lower abdomen is very dispersed. It's wide, it's like cloud-like. It's intangible because it's actually a natural process for human beings to have energy leaks. It's natural in the human algorithm now because we're so engrossed in external things that we have so much energy leaks from the sexual desire, emotions, addictions, even just staring at the screen 24/7, you're leaking through the eyes, right? Energy leaks will be another class. So you see here, what happens as the human being begins to age from a baby to puberty, well into young adult life, a natural process of Jing leakage takes place, and the energy field that's around the lower abdomen, which is like the lower bioelectric, that's the bioelectric battery, it's not gathered and strengthened. So in level 1, when you're beginning any form of cultivation, you not only have to retain the Jing, right, the essence, you have to learn how to strengthen it and condense it and gather this energy. So in other words, now when the energy is condensed, you can actually see this like energy feel in your lower abdomen, all right? So when it's condensed, you're now basically cultivating, you're storing energy. Now that you can store energy, and this is a different phenomena to some extent than just normal abdominal breathing, right? But when it's stored, notice what I have here. This is now where that energy can rise up to the brain and now activate the brain centers, the pineal gland, and guess what? Your antenna system is now working. The brain is nourished to a much more enlightened state, and now you can connect, and then it will be more effortless for you to reach to this state of tranquility, of no thought, no mind. And in that state, because the body is more energetically charged, filled with Jing, Qi, and Shen, this is now where you begin to gather more light. That's the proper meditation. So this is why Taoists essentially had specific techniques that would be a faster way compared to the traditional like Buddhist way, where it would just be forget the body, meditate, let it go. That takes much longer. But in the Taoist tradition, they documented all of these things, and they created cleverly concocted techniques to kickstart consolidating the Jing, Qi, Shen. Now, I'm a disciple of a system that's even faster than the Taoist system. All right? If you want to know more about that, DM me. I'll give you. So you see to the left, because there is essentially a lot of Jing leakage, there isn't much storage of energy. The energy now doesn't come up. There's no energy to come up the spine. So the the Shen is very weak, which then, so when someone sits, they have a lot of thought forms, a lot of thoughts, a lot of egregors that go on. And this actually then does block the ability to harness energy. So you see what I have here. It's a very weak ability that they have to gather energy. Now, you could argue and say, well, you just have to sit and eventually you'll get there. But without the proper strategy, structure, and technique that was left by sacred masters, it could take a very, very long time. You understand? So the gist of it is, to begin to start meditating properly, you have to understand how to store energy, right? Another thing, people that cannot store energy or have kind of more of a dispersed energy field, these are the ones that like to use the shrooms, the psychedelics. They are very, when it comes to the diet too, if they eat anything that they don't usually eat, they kind of like just off immediately, right? And they feel like they're knocked off their square. Whereas someone that can store energy, they're much more adaptive, you know, and the body can adjust even to certain extremes. The body can adjust, all right? So when someone can store energy, you could activate the brain centers organically. You could simply say the command and you will have